Hey everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of No Vacancy. We got a little bonus episode because we're going to be talking about art today and how art is really transforming the hospitality experience. And in order to help us, I have Allison Barry. She's a principal with Kevin Barry Fine Art, and John Barry, principal with Kevin Barry Fine Art. How are you guys today?
Hi, Glenn.
Hi.
Glenn, doing very well. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to talk to you because I'm finding that art seems to have changed so much in terms of how people react to it in the hospitality experience and how important it is to driving that experience. And I'm sorry to use the word experience so much. I'm trying to get away from that. But let's say art is really great for spatial immersion, right? Helping you create that idea of where you are, that sense of place, and give you a very distinct feeling. And you folks have been at it for a really, really long time. And I'm curious to see what type of trends that you're seeing out there when it comes to art within the hospitality sphere.
Well, Glenn, I think when you said sense of place, that's really on target. We're finding that a sense of place is garnered through selfie or Instagram moments. Mm-hmm. We're also finding that local artisans, that's a huge part of hotel artwork, both for guest rooms and also public space.
Right. Kevin, what about you?
I really think, the
Kevin,
idea.
John.
Sorry, if I had $1 for every time somebody said that, I'd be a rich man. It's all good. I think really, telling the story, telling a regional story, telling a specific story, and having artwork really kind of take you down that path and that story is something that we've been doing a ton of, and it's just getting more and more, and especially with artwork, more so than any other FF&E item, I think.
So what happened? Because it used to be, I think art used to be just whatever images, the same one in every single room, thrown up on the wall. There was nothing inspiring in the lobby, and I feel like suddenly a switch was turned on in the hospitality business, and people realized that art could be used to help create that sense of place and all that other stuff. Why did this happen?
I think it's really a deep differentiator. It's a differentiator in the sense that, you've got hotels all over big cities. And why do people want to go to certain hotels as opposed to others? It's an art collection. It's a moment. It's an experience. And it's amazing, the transformation. As opposed to framed artwork up on the wall, as we were talking earlier about, just a simple black and white photograph, as opposed to something sculptural, as opposed to something interactive, as opposed to something that really gets the local art community involved. I mean, it's a big differentiator, and when you've got TripAdvisor and all of these other hotels.com and you've got reviews going on left and right, you really, really want to get that sense of place and that boutique feeling at hotels.
And I think art's sexy and cool.
Right.
I think with Art Basel being out there and everybody seeing all these amazing artists and wanting to be involved and feeling like they are the cool kids kind of a thing, and staying at hotels that have really dynamic, quote unquote, cool artwork. And being involved in it, like Allison was saying, with these selfie moments, and saying, "Oh, hey, I'm at this great hotel. Look at me in front of this really cool piece of artwork, and now I'm cool."
Right, and I would argue that you mentioned creating those social media moments. They're so absolutely critical because every hotel is trying to differentiate itself, right? Get people to want to follow them, and what better way than to create free advertising for the property than by creating an exciting piece that people just have to stop and either take that selfie with, or at least just take an Instagram picture and get it up online.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, and the example that we were talking about earlier, where LeBron James took a team photo.
Yes, tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's a really Allison actually worked on the project.
So the project, it's the Canby Hotel in Phoenix. It's an autograph, autograph collection, and we did a number of pieces in the lobby, and one of them was a print on metal with a neon overlay. And basically, LeBron and his team had to get their selfie Instagram moment in there.
Yeah.
And
over 250,000 likes, and essentially it's free marketing for the hotel.
Right. So what's the secret then in creating artwork that makes people want to have a positive reaction that they have to share it with the world?
I think it's a combination of, you have to have a design firm that's willing to stick their neck out a little bit and be confident in their aesthetic design, that it's going to be a really great opportunity. And then obviously as our consultants, we need to deliver on that. It needs to be that wow moment.
Well, it's also just staying on trend in terms of what is cool.
Yeah.
Like, what is cool?
Well, that's a great question. How do you determine what is cool? Because I've been searching for cool my whole life. It's eluding me.
I think, whether you're in interior design and you're at your desk and you're studying Pinterest and you're all over the internet trying to source different artists or different really cool installations, or you're lucky enough to get out in the world and see things like John mentioned, like Art Basel, going overseas into some shows, or just kind of getting around. I mean, even airport design is so amazing in terms of the sculptural moments or the selfie moments.
Yeah, it's really true. I feel like our relationship with art has matured a lot over the last decade or so. So how does that change, John, what you do on a day-to-day basis when consulting with designers and other folks? You've got to really push yourself creatively.
You do, you really do. I mean, I think as a team, we have 3 different offices, and our ability to kind of collaborate, through different offices, and like Alison was saying, trying to stay on trend, we're staying up on publications, following trendsetters, and with Instagram and social media the way it is now, you can instantly see where people are having these unique experiences and what is on trend and what is kind of emerging as cool, and collaborating and having a good sense of aesthetic and understanding of what artists are emerging,
right,
or just the various opportunities that present themselves.
Right, Alison?
Well, I think when you really boil it down, you've got hotel owners that are going back to the same interior design firms, that are going back to the same art consultants. So our jobs as we go down the food chain is to really keep it fresh and keep it new and keep it cool. And as soon as you hear the words, I've seen that before, or it becomes monotonous, then you've lost your edge. And so our job as art consultants and as designers and as owners is to keep it fresh and to keep it cool.
Yeah, one of the things that I never realized before we got into this was how much you folks really are designers. You don't just provide art, you're a creative spirit behind a lot of these projects. So how do you continue to, you talked about staying fresh, how do you actually stay fresh? Where do you find inspiration from? How do you make sure you're not doing the same things over and over again?
You think you have to get out there. You have to get out. We're lucky enough with our jobs that we get the opportunity to travel. I think we have to unplug sometimes and actually experience the world. But it's counterproductive in terms of having that selfie or Instagram moment, right?
I was going to say, you got to unplug except for taking photos of your artwork
all the time.
Post online.
Yeah.
I think the properties can also dictate how we take a fresh take on what we're going to install. There's a particular project I'm working on right now in Asheville, North Carolina, and it's this building that's been there for 150 years.
Nice.
And so there's a lot of history that's behind it.
I love adaptive reuse.
So really trying to tap into what it was before, what it is now, where they want it to be, and tell that story in a really creative, unique way that will be that differentiator. But also, knowing your history to know where you are for the present and kind of how they're going to.
So this is all critical because you spend a lot of time creating custom work for public places, right? So what's that process like in order to find that inspiration and make sure you deliver something that's a home run for ownership, management, and of course the customers?
I think, that's a good question. I think one of my favorite projects that I've recently completed is the Logan Hotel, which is also Curio in Philadelphia. And basically, we were lucky enough to be able to fly out to Philadelphia a number of times and interface with all local artisans. And what's so great is we went to them with ideas and concepts, and then to hand that over and to watch it explode into something that you never dreamed was so fantastic. To get them involved from conception to completion was mind-blowing, not just for us, but also for the local community, as well as the interior design firm, as well as the ownership group.
Right. Is it harder to design artwork or decide to go to Gino's or Pat's cheesesteaks in Philadelphia?
You're asking a vegetarian, so.
Well, I'm a vegetarian, Glenn, but I don't know.
Well, good for you. I aspire to be a vegetarian. I like to hang out with vegetarians, and that way I can pretend I am too while I eat giant hamburgers. So, John, you've also worked on other cool projects like the Fairmont in DC and the Zephyr in San Francisco, creating pieces of art that are really define the place.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, I mean, the Hotel Zephyr in Fisherman's Wharf, the piece that we did is actually in their logo. There's a 30-foot functional periscope that we fully executed.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's next level. It's actually in their actual logo. It's fully functional. You see the Golden Gate Bridge, Coit Tower, various parts of Fisherman's Wharf, and it had its massively unique challenges that came along with it, but our ability to pull it off is was second to none. It was
Right,
really cool.
and I would say what we're talking about now is the difference between the passive experience with art and an interactive experience with art.
Sure, and I think one of the sort of components of interactive is actually this gaming component, which has been huge.
Yeah.
As John was talking
Gaming
about
component?
gaming,
Yeah.
so I mean, like sort of
Interactive.
playful children's games. Like we did a life-size, an oversized
Yeah.
Connect 4 game at the
sweet.
Hotel
At the Hotel Zephyr. It was 14 feet wide, 7 feet high, with clamps and rods that we drop the game pieces in. And, it gets the hotel guest really
Right.
involved in the property. Mom and dad are drinking cocktails by the fire pit. Kids are playing games. They're on the Periscope. It's that whole interactive, memorable experience for the hotel guest. Makes them keep coming back. And it's all because the artwork is really relevant and interesting and dynamic.
Yeah, that reminds me. I could picture you two playing right now. Reminds me of that old commercial. Connect 4, where diagonally, pretty sneaky, sis. Right.
That's right.
That's what we did.
That's right. Our inspiration from when we were 7 and 9. Totally.
So, interactive art isn't just about a periscope. Technology is really coming into play more and more every day. Does that make things more challenging, or does it open up a whole new sphere of creativity for you?
Well, it goes back to what is cool, right?
Yeah.
And that is what is cool. That's what's coming up. So, I mean, we evolve. We have to adapt just like everybody else. So, I mean, in terms of video art, three-dimensional art pieces, and then also, you get into this whole world of 3D printing, which we're just starting to explore a little
That's
bit too.
interesting.
Yeah. So, it's just keeping on top of the trends and really keeping your eyes open.
So when you talk about bringing technology into art, you're using a lot of videos. So what do you consider when creating those projects? I mean, it seems to me like to be just an open palette for you to do almost anything that you want.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it really gives you full range of capabilities. So here at HD Expo, our booth, we have a really great technological. We did these great video feeds, and our booth is tropical inspired.
It's a tropical inspired booth, and our video artists that we're working with, we've done some fantastic things. So video mapping, so as opposed to just sort of playing a video, mapping actually means that we could put a digital bird that's moving and flapping its wings on your shoulder, Glenn. And that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually
Might freak me out a little bit.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just so you can interact with that, and it's unexpected.
Right, that is definitely something unexpected. For those of you listening that don't know what video projection mapping is, you've probably seen it at places like the Magic Kingdom and Disney, where they project an entire show on it, and it transforms the castle into all of these different things. That's a pretty wild thing, because now you're doing video, not just two-dimensional, but three-dimensional kind of a world. That's a really interesting challenge, isn't it, John?
Well, and it's interchangeable.
Yeah.
So you can, as the artist, we can create a different experience at different times for different people, and it really lends itself to the anything moment, like Alison was saying. I mean, growing
Based on wherever, where
Right.
your property is, or what message you're trying to convey, or how you want to convey cool.
One of the first video installations that I thought was pretty cool was at the Cosmopolitan here in Las Vegas in the lobby, and that would change, and it really got your attention. You guys are helping now reinvent the Cosmopolitan for a new era.
Yeah, absolutely. They're redoing the entire Cosmopolitan right now, and we had the lucky opportunity to.
Entire Cosmopolitan.
I believe so. I know.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's so we were able to work with Pauline and the design folks over at Cosmopolitan to redo some of the artwork in the guest rooms, and some really great unique moments. We're printing on some mirrors in their corridors, and there's some playful things that are happening, and you got to go check it out probably in 3 months.
I think to go back to the sort of selfie Instagram moment and how that relates to Vegas, John worked on a really cool project that was kind of quirky at the Link Hotel. In the guest room, we actually made a three-dimensional wig that you can check into your room, stick your head inside this wig, take a selfie, and then upload it. And there's a thought bubble next to the wig where you can write whatever you're feeling.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, so really, embracing that selfie moment and showcasing, hey, this is what I'm doing tonight, or this is what I'm thinking, or just being playful with it, and having that interactive moment with every guest. We did 2,200 rooms at the Link with all of those pieces.
Where does an idea like that come from that's so different?
Yeah, it's a collaboration between design and us as the art consultants. We kind of can act in that design capacity. So being able to take it from inception to completion and understand the hurdles that maybe come with it, being able to get the price point where it needs to be, as well as executing it in the right kind of time frame is unique challenges.
But also just freeing your mind to
Right.
just say, what the hell? Let's
Yeah.
put a wig in a room.
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally.
that's cool.
How do you know if an idea is a smart, creative idea or it's just a little too cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
That's a very fine balance
Yeah,
there,
right?
Glenn. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a wig, it's taking a chance, and it's
Right.
getting up the food chain all the way to ownership to take a chance on doing a wig in over 2,000 guest rooms.
Yeah, it's a pretty serious commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think if owners and designers are willing to kind of step out there, out of their comfort zone, and really make that experience a wow experience for their guests, it's going to show, and specifically in the artwork and our ability to kind of execute that
Right,
stuff.
for sure. Now, one of the other big trends that I'm seeing right now, you touched on it right at the beginning of the conversation with not just art that reflects the locality, but local artists actually participating in the artwork as well.
Sure. So really, these hotels are trying to kind of draw in the local community, and that includes local artists. So helping to tell that local story, people that have grown up in that town or that city. It's an enormous component because people like to take art tours when they visit hotels. It's not just a piece of art or a sculptural piece in a lobby or even in a room. It's actually, there's a write-up where you can learn more and you can actually go and visit the artist studio. So it's a huge piece to the entire project.
That's pretty cool.
Not only, I mean, you have to be concerned though, because not every local artist is slated or can be used in a hospitality setting.
Right.
They're all not going to be able to play the part because there's unique personalities and artists are inherently crazy. So
Right.
we try to tame that crazy a little bit.
Not all artists.
Not all artists, but that's what makes them good though. That's what makes them really talented. That's what makes
Right.
artists talented.
I like that you say not all artists in case one of them are listening.
Yes,
and they say, well,
absolutely.
that's not me.
That's right.
Oh, the other ones-
Disclaimer.
But, so where are you using local artists effectively to create a unique program that draws in maybe folks to come see the art from that town?
Honestly, all over the country,
Yeah.
all over the world. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a huge component. I would say in over 80% of the projects that we're working on, that is a requirement.
Wow. So if I'm a hotel owner and I bring you folks in, then my question is, how do you find those local artists to make sure that they're right and then you can deliver on the vision that I have for my hotel, even though as an owner, I think I know what I'm talking about, but I don't really have a clear vision to tell you.
Well, the good news is that's why you want to hire us,
Yeah,
because we've
right.
been doing this for a while. So we've got some pretty great relationships in place. I mean, we're a family business. Our father, Kevin's been doing this for over 40 years. So
Right.
we've got relationships with artists all over the country. And then once a project comes on board, we go where it is, and we go and we meet the people. We set up, I mean, when I worked on this Logan project, I met with multiple artists. I went to artist shows. I went to colleges to be introduced to artisans that would maybe make the cut. We absolutely get involved. So,
Is there any local artist or a particular project you worked on that you felt just did it all right? It really was just perfect.
Well, I mean, that example of the Logan is.
Yeah.
Is
I mean,
really,
the
know you
Logan
use that a lot.
Hotel is, we use local artisans throughout, in the guest rooms and the public spaces. I mean, there's an 8-foot tall sculpture that when you walk in, it's called the Man of Steel. At Christmas time, they put, a hat on him. There is all kinds of selfie and Instagram moments. We worked with the local, the Philadelphia Historical Society.
Right.
We did a hanging piece with over 350 famous Philadelphians.
Wow.
And it's a living, breathing thing. So it's a philanthropic hotel. So if you do something fabulous for the city of Philadelphia, you too can get your photo put up there.
It sounds like artists and ownership are really coming together more and more these days, and owners really want to have signature art elements. Is that something that's become more prominent in maybe the last 5 or 6 years?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, even here at the Mandalay Bay, we just finished Ariel, the newly redesigned wine restaurant. There's a huge wine tower, 60-foot wine tower, and there's these 3 walls that we executed this sculptural piece. And so ownership, having this dynamic moment, trying to draw more business in, and it seems to be working. So
I love that idea, using art to capture people's attention and draw them in. It reminds me of, Walt Disney, when he created the original Disneyland theme park, he put the castle in the back. It was called a weenie, something to draw you into the place, into the back of the park. So you probably think about that same kind of idea as well.
absolutely, I think that artwork just lends itself to that opportunity to capture a hotel guest walking by, or making a choice. Let's go in there and have a drink. This looks cool. Let's go maybe stay here if it's if that lends itself to.
Right.
I think another really important point is that you have to do your homework. So we have been working on a number of projects in Arizona, and you can't just say, okay, well, I've seen some pictures of Arizona. I need to study up about Arizona, and I need to go and visit this place. And one of the things, for instance, Arizona, we've learned that there are the 5 C's of Arizona, and they are basically the 5 money makers for that state, which is copper, cattle, citrus, climate, and cotton.
Wow.
And so
Who knew?
Who knew, right?
Cotton
Yeah.
in Arizona.
Exactly. It's crazy, but basically, and then how do you take those 5 points and really boil them down to something interesting in terms of an art installation, whether it's abstracted or whether it's absolute, just it's a photograph. It kind of runs the gamut.
Right. And I guess you do a lot of conversations with owners like we talked about to get their vision, and probably sometimes you come up with it on your own, but there's probably a teamwork element involved as well.
Oh, sure. I mean, interior designers are so talented. I mean, they come to us we want them to come to us with these amazing and kind of off the wall ideas. And then we really collaborate in terms of how can we execute on that? How can we make that happen? And, sometimes in the beginning, everybody dreams big, and then you have to deal with the sort of value engineering exercise that everybody goes through. But I always like to say we can take it from Tiffany to Target and then back again.
Right.
So.
I like that, from Tiffany to Target. That's up there with the 5 C's.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about smaller projects, curios, the autograph collections and sort of that. And I know we mentioned the Cosmopolitan, but art seems to be finding its way into massive redesigns as well. I know you folks worked on the Gaylord Opryland, which to me is, I think the biggest hotel I've ever been to without a casino in it. So how do you manage a massive project like that?
Very, very carefully.
Yeah.
Lots of emails.
Yeah, I mean, they have something like 2 million rooms there.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, another one, the Gaylord is a perfect example. We also just completed the Loews Royal Pacific in Orlando. I mean, close to 1,000 guest rooms, and doing everything from mirrors in rooms to sculpture in rooms to wall covering in rooms.
So let's break this Loews project down a little bit. And I really love what Loews has been doing since the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Amazing. Talk about clients that are really interested in art and differentiating. I mean, those guys are fabulous.
Yeah, and I know Jonathan Tisch is a big fan of the Orlando properties in particular. And the Royal Pacific, I suppose, needed a big makeover because they built a couple of other hotels. There's another one that's under construction right now. I think that's called Aventura or something like that, right? So how do you approach a big project like that? Because you're not just putting something in the lobby. You said you've got mirrors, you've got artwork on the walls. That's a colossal project. How many items do you think you delivered there, and how do you do it?
I mean,
Art, wall covering, mirrors,
and then
sculptural,
framed artwork, canvas artwork, and then matte and glass pieces in the guest room. So we work a lot with Simeone Deary. They're a fabulous, very talented design firm in Chicago, and they came to us and basically said, okay, we know this property is in Orlando, but our inspiration is basically South Pacific.
Right.
So then how do you start to wrap your head around South Pacific and sort of the traveler meets kind of the native people of the South Pacific, and then developing those concepts. And then you take those concepts and develop them, and then you say, okay, how are we going to put these into rooms? What is the medium going to be?
Right.
And then going back and forth in terms of, custom samples and wall covering samples and mirror samples.
Right.
And then that's obviously why the model room is so essential.
Oh, yeah.
and then it's on us to deliver. Obviously, we have to have the right relationships and with our vendors and the various people that we work with, and super talented artists and artisans, and they do a fantastic job for us. And being able to stick to schedules and understand the dynamics of the purchasing agent, what their needs are and how to execute it. So
we worked on another project, the Loews Vanderbilt, which was in Nashville, and the client came to us and said, we want to do a piece of artwork in every single room made of individual colored guitar picks, which would be amazing, right? But you've got a quantity situation. So how can you do something like that? I mean, the man hours just to kind of apply each one of these guitar picks. And what we came up with was a really interesting value engineered solution. We made, we don't like to talk about that part. But basically what we did was we made a resin mold.
Right.
So sculptural pieces where we made a resin mold of individual guitar picks, ran it through a flatbed printer, and so you achieve the same effect where you're getting that guitar pick look, but the cost was totally appropriate for guest rooms. So it's really thinking creatively and not saying no. It's saying, okay, we're going to go this direction, as opposed to just no way.
How do we figure it out? And getting back to that technology aspect of it, being able to have the technology to execute a piece like that with the flatbed printing and the resin molds and the foresight to be able to think, okay, how can we do it and how can we make it happen? And being able to execute it.
Yeah. Resin's really cool too. I mean, that's an interesting medium we've been using for rooms and also public space. So I mean, we can make a mold of anything that you want. I mean, we've done skull heads, we've done bow ties, we've done plates and baskets and all kinds of things, and they're fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
So resin's great for both artwork and storing dinosaur DNA.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, you mentioned wall coverings and putting graphics on wall coverings. I never realized that was something that an art company handles. I always thought that was something that a wall covering company handles.
Sure. Yeah, well, especially Marriott with their new designs. They're not doing any artwork in their guest rooms. They're doing a super graphic on the back on the headboards.
Right.
So again, being able to adapt to those kind of things. We have an in-house team of graphic artists that we work with and custom create imagery that tells whatever story that is that we're trying to achieve. And being able to use, whether it's vinyl, type 2 vinyl mylar, materials, gold, silver, textural pieces. I mean, really, it's endless. We even did at the Canby on the ceiling, the copper mylar that we printed on at the ceiling as an artwork experience.
And the inspiration for copper was one of the 5 C's.
C's,
yes.
One of the 5 C's. Are you paying attention, Glenn?
Wait, no, I'm paying attention. I'm just when you say 5 C's, I'm just thinking about my report card from middle school. So before we wrap up, I've got one more question. It goes back to the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs kind of thing.
Sure.
Not going too far in one direction, but how do you make sure you create an installation that's going to feel like it's valid for a longer period of time? Because sometimes you see architecture and the building looks great. There's a mall here in the city that looked great for about 20 minutes, then it looked outdated, and didn't really represent where time has shifted. So how do you create stuff that's not going to look weird a year or two from now?
That's a very good question.
Very good question. Yeah. I mean, I think with telling that regional story as it relates to specific hotels and hotel brands, that really ties back into the properties.
Right, and it's a deeper historical kind of connotation to
absolutely.
It. So, because it's such a long history, it'll continue to go forward.
To be relevant, for the years to come.
Right.
But I mean, in hospitality, it's just like hotels need to get a haircut and they need to refresh every 5 years, 5 plus years or so. And so, if you don't have that timeless piece that's in the lobby in that installation, and I mean, you could miss out on an opportunity. And
I think in terms of something that's really timeless, I mean, clients have to be willing to spend the money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Right.
I mean, we can absolutely value engineer, and going from Tiffany to Target is something we'd like to do. But if you're looking for something that's going to be lasting and make a fabulous impression, we've got to work with the right materials, and we've got to invest the time and the money.
Right. And I bet the merging the technology and art now with video screens kind of eliminates that problem, because you can keep it fresh, like you said, at a much lower expense ongoing.
Sure, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here, guys?
No, I mean, it's exciting that HD Expo's here and got a week full of shaking hands and kissing babies, and I think our ability to deliver the artwork that we do in a unique way, it really sets us apart, and it's a great job to have. I mean, I love my job. I love being able to deliver this wow to our various clients.
Well, it's a good thing that you guys like your job. It'd really be weird growing up in the world of art.
Yeah, not like it yet. Well, and that's all about the people, right? We work with some great people.
Yeah.
We're very lucky.
So how do we find you guys? Because now I'm ready to buy some art.
You can find us on the internet. You can find us at the booth.
Yeah.
So we are Kevin Barry Fine Art, and that's Kevin Barry, Barry. And please reach out. We'd love to help.
Great, and be sure to check them out. John, anything you want to?
Come by our booth, 3469 here at HD Expo. If you hear it between now and Friday.
Well, why don't you just give your booth number for 2018?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Good talk.
Make sure you reach out to the guys at Kevin Barry Fine Art. I hope that all of you, like me, learned lots of interesting things today. Really fascinating to see how you're creating those social media moments through contemporary artwork that's more 3D and fulfilling and interactive and really engages the guests who want to be a part of something instead of just passively sitting in their room and going, hey, I could have bought this piece of art in a deli growing up, right? Much more interesting, much more fun, and I think I'm ready to go off and play that Giant Connect 4 game about now.
Let's do it.
It's diagonal.
Yep. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.